Wetstorp, situated some 70 kilometers from Bloemfontein, annually plays host to a round of the Off-Road Championship. This year's event was round 6 of the Bankfin Off-Road Championship, and the locals turned it into a festive occasion. Street stalls did a roaring trade on anything from boerewors to societies to steaks and a variety of tasty home-baked fare. 32 special vehicles and 35 production vehicles entered the event, which was the only combined motor vehicle, motorcycle and quad event on the calendar. Competitors were required to complete a 49-kilometer prologue on Friday and a 201-kilometer loop and a 246-kilometer loop on Saturday. Interestingly, the route traversed 138 farms. Highlights of the... Duncan Foss and Mike Griffiths topped the Production Vehicle Championship log after consistent performances in their Nissan hardbody. But the dark horses were Neil Woolridge and Kenny Skoldhammer, who had steadily closed the gap on the Nissan pair. Also in contention were Piet Haasbroek and Christo Bosch in the Class D Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser, who had 2 class wins to their credit.
Ek dink ek het nog 'n kans. As Duncan breek, het ek definitief 'n kans, maar as hy die volgende 3 wedrenne wat oorbly, as hy nie breek nie, is daar nie 'n kans om te wen nie. En dan sy kans baie goed om die algehele produksieklas kampioenskap te wen.
Class E Championship contenders Manfred Schroeder and Jack Peckham blotted their copybook on the Toyota Dealer 400 at Sun City.
We were lucky, first of all, that Hugo didn't finish, so we're still first and second and the points haven't changed. Yeah, we took the wrong route, went down the bank. We saw the Sandmasters go down the bank, and unfortunately with a narrower wheelbase we just rolled over.
The battle in the Special Vehicle Championship was as intense, with 2 times former champions Greg Harvey and Boy Stone locked in battle with Greg Dowse. Brothers Gerard and Laurens Duplessis missed 2 events earlier in the season, but 2 back-to-back wins in the Mobile Gymco had moved them into contention.
Wel, ons het nu de afgelopen 2 races was ons gelukkig. Ons het gewen al 2 races en daar is nog 2, 3 oor. En ons hoop maar as we wen al 3, dan kan ons 'n kans staan in die kampioenskap om te wen. Ons sal maar sien wat gebeur.
Marcus Taylor and Mark de Chalane had dominated Class B all season and were in with a chance of winning the title.
At the moment, we're running in the front of Class B with Giel Nel in the look truggy. We unfortunately dropped one already this year at Sugarbelt, so what that means is we've got nothing left to drop on real points. If Giel drops his worst result, we actually end up at the moment about 10 points ahead. In the Navigators, with Giel without a Navigator, it puts me quite far ahead. But for Marcus, it's looking a lot tighter with Giel. It's going to go down to the wire, I think.
Reigning Production Vehicle champions Geniel de Villiers and Francois Jordan set the pace in the prologue and qualified 50 seconds faster than their Nissan teammates Hans Grobler and Richard Leek. The 2 Nissan crews have won 4 events, with Grobler and Leek victorious on the Toyota 1000 Desert Race and de Villiers and Jordan winning the Nissan Sugarbelt 400, the O'Hagan's Kopenhagen Hotel 500 and the Toyota Dealer 400. While victory is eluded, Neil Woolridge and Kenny Skoldhammer in the Ford Racing Ranger, 3 second places and a third has virtually assured them of the Class T Championship title. Multiple former champions Arpi Reineke and Robin Houghton won the season-opening Barbaspan 500 in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser, but 2 non-finishers have all but eliminated them from the title battle. Atang Makhagenene and Alex Sally qualified 6th in the Sam Racing Gymco, 27 seconds behind the Duplessis brothers. The rival teams have between them won 3 of the 5 races this season. Last year's Caledon 400 winner Greg Dowse and Archie Rutherford were the leading Class S contenders and would start 7th, only 20 seconds behind the more powerful Sam Racing Gymco. 8th fastest were Paolo Piazzamuso and Scott Abram in the 2-wheel drive O'Hagan's Kopenhagen Hotel Super Team Jeep, now running in Class T. The US-built truck has been plagued by minor problems all season. Duncan Foss and Mike Griffiths in the Nissan hardbody posted the same time as the Jeep and were 17 seconds faster than teammates Hein Grobler and Gerard Prinsloo. Frikkie Botha and Blackie Swart rounded out the top 10 in the Class S Santon Off-Road Accessories Race Co. fastest qualifier in Class B was Francois Smit, who found the going a little slippery in his Sandmaster. Class E championship leaders Hijo and Jaap de Bruin set a fast pace in the Castrol Toyota Hilux to qualify 31 seconds faster than arch rivals Schroeder and Peckham. Alfred and Tommy van Vieren were the lone entry in Class F for two-wheel drive production vehicles. They qualified 49th in the bog standard Ford Ranger. The Class T Brigade dominated the 49-kilometer prologue to occupy the top 4 positions, with the first of the special vehicles over 3 minutes behind the leading Nissan. The Caledon 400 proudly brought to you by Ford, Nissan, Toyota and Bankfin. If it moves, we'll finance it.
It's here, waiting for you. O'Hagan's Irish Pubs, nationwide.
The Caledon 400 proudly brought to you by Ford, Nissan, Toyota and Bankfin. If it moves, we'll finance it. The start of the Caledon 400 was delayed by 30 minutes due to the large motorcycle field that started ahead of the motor vehicles. Ahead of the crews lay a tough 447-kilometer route comprising one loop of 201 kilometers and another of 246 kilometers. The route offered varied terrain, which included numerous river crossings, mountain passes, rocky sections and open plains. There were problems before the start for Barbaspan 500 winner Atang Makhekenene.
We've had this problem, I think, for the past 3 races. We'll probably change a full set of injectors today. Yesterday, I think we dropped the whole trials on 5 injectors. I only realized that after we cleaned the car up, and we thought we took it for testing yesterday. And we realized there was something wrong. And we changed to an injector. Today, it sounds like we have the same problem. It's worrying. I don't know how long they'll last for today, but we'll go as far as we can. There's really not much that we can do at this stage. Yeah.
The Nashua Mobile Racing Camp was in a relaxed and jovial mood before the start.
Yes, last year I think it was a bit of lady luck on our side. We managed to come in just in front last year. I think it was 1.5 minutes that we won this event by. This year we take it a little bit easy. We went up in the championship last year, so we were really going for an all-out win. Whereas this year we're just going to stay on the pace and rock and roll for the first half, the first loop, and then on the second loop we'll take it from there and go with the flow. Just stay well within the means of the car and get to the finish line.
Woolridge and Skolthammer's main objective was to beat the Nissans, but was the Ford up to it?
I think it's very well suited. I think that the Nissans might have a bit more speed than us, but I'm hoping that over the 450 kilometers, I think the Ranger will come through. I think it's suited to the really, really rough conditions. I think our durability, I might be taking a bit of a chance, but I think our durability is better than the Nissans, and hopefully at the end of the day, I think that the Ranger will come through.
Last year's winner, Geniel de Villiers, took time out to check the line through the first corner.
No, last year we had quite a good event here. We started quite low down in 20th position and had quite a few punches. And we really had to go very hard last year to get to that position. This year it's a bit different. It's definitely an advantage starting from the front today because there is a bit of dust. Although the wind is blowing, I think the dust is still going to be a bit of a problem. But I think the pace is going to be quite hot up front with Hannes and Neil right behind me. So we'll have to keep it all together and going fast.
8:30, and the race was on. The pace was fast right from the start, with de Villiers and Jordan opening the gap on the rest of the field. Not having to contend with dust was a huge advantage for the Nissan crew. On board with Grobler and Leek.
And then left under bridge. And then exit left, leave it left.
Ford racing pair Woolridge and Skolthammer are former winners of this event and were being chased hard by Reineke and Houghton in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser, who are also former winners of this event. Non-finishers on the Nissan Sugarbelt 400 and the O'Hagan's Kopenhagen Hotel 500 have put them out of contention in the Production Vehicle Championship. Schweizer Reineke diamond diggers Gerard and Laurens Duplessis were on a charge in the mobile Gymco and intent on opening as big a gap as possible on Botswana businessmen Makhegenene and Sally in the Sam Racing Gymco. The injector problem that had plagued the team appeared to have been solved, but for how long? Dawson Rutherford had a comfortable lead in Class S in the Nashua Mobile Raceco, but closing in fast was the super team Jeep of Piazza Musso and Abraham. The pair moved up 2 places before a broken rear control arm put them out of the race. Foss and Griffiths had matters under control in Class D and were looking for their 4th consecutive class win of the season. Right behind them and closing in fast were Boerta and Swart in the Santon Off-Road Accessories Raceco. With the field now closely packed, dust was affecting visibility. Hein Grobler and Gerard Prinsloo came through unscathed in the Nissan hardbody, but the chasing pack was forced to come to a standstill. Schumi van Vieren had only 1 finish this season in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser, while Terence Marsh failed to finish the last 2 events in the Nashua Mobile Gymco. By contrast, Harvey and Stone had finished every event so far in the Castrol Queen Motorspares Gymco. Henry Kerstein and Renier Uester were 15th overall and 5th in Class A in the immaculately prepared Secarock Sandmaster, which is powered by a Nissan V6 engine. Leading the Class B field was Francois Smit in the Sandmaster, but he couldn't afford to ease off because the hard-charging Colin Matthews was closing in fast in the Industrial Hardware WPP. Both drivers get by without the help of a navigator. Matthews is a newcomer to the sport and has proved to be extremely quick in the WPP, which is built by former Group N racer and off-road racer Peter Fumfi. Carlos Dabro and Steve Cooper damaged the rear differential on the Blue Chip Services Land Cruiser. Dabro drove to Lichtenberg after the prologue to collect a replacement and had to work through the night to fit it. He could have done without the added pressure of Haasbroek and Bosch, who were rapidly closing the gap in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser, which had developed a misfire. Lars Leroux and Barney van Niekerk made a rare appearance in the Colt, which race and rally legend Sarel van der Merwe drove in the Barberspan 500. On board with Grobler and Leek in the Nissan hardbody. They couldn't believe their luck when they came across race leaders de Villiers and Jordan parked at the side of the track. An onboard fire forced the leaders to stop. Later, a puncture would delay them even more and drop them way down the order. The veteran pair took full advantage of their teammates' misfortune and proceeded to open a significant gap on Woolridge and Skoltommer in the Ford Racing Ranger. Woolridge has complained all season long that the Ford does not have the pace of the Nissans, and the Caledon 400 was no exception. Reineke and Houghton were 3rd and setting a steady pace after damaging the Land Cruiser's drivetrain on a rock hidden in a mud hole, which caused severe vibration at speeds over 120 kilometers per hour. The Duplessis brothers were on a charge and comfortably ahead of the other special vehicle contenders. Makhegenene had dropped down the field, and Dawson Rutherford were now 2nd and leading Class S by a wide margin in the Nashua Mobile Raceco. Schumi van Vieren and Steve Parker in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser were the new leaders in Class D and had got by championship leaders Foss and Griffiths, who followed close behind in the Nissan hardbody. Frikkie Boerta and Blackie Swart were having a great run and had moved up to 3rd overall in the special vehicle category and 2nd in Class S. Greg Harvey's sole objective was to finish as high up the finishing order as possible and amass more points to keep him at the top of the championship log. Hein Grobler and Gerard Prinsloo were 10th overall in the Nissan hardbody, but they would later be forced to retire when the engine overheated. Henry Kirstein and Rainer Jooster were 4th overall in the special vehicle category in the Sekarock Sandmaster, but behind them a huge battle was developing between some top runners who had started way down or had had problems and were now fighting their way back. Weir Smith started 59th and was now 31st. Weigelt, being overtaken by de Villiers, started 68th and was now 34th. Magaghenene had dropped from 2nd to 34th, and de Villiers, who led the race, was 33rd. Weigelt did not complete the prologue due to gearbox failure on the Ford. On board with race leaders Grobler and Leek in the Nissan hardbody, the rough terrain had taken its toll on a significant percentage of the field, but there were no problems for the veteran pair as they headed for the designated service point at de Wetsdorp. Gerard and Laurens Duplessis had a commanding lead in the special vehicle category, with the mobile Jimco not missing a beat thus far. Dawson Rutherford led Class S from Boerta and Swart, and Billy Bond and Anton Lombard in the Prolong Raceco. Foss and Griffiths regained the Class D lead, but would later retire when the right front wheel and hub came apart. This would be their first non-finish in the Bankman Off-Road Championship. Colin Matthews led Class B in the Industrial Hardware WPP, but had Francois Smit and Rob Walk in close pursuit. Father and son duo Hugo and Jaap de Bruin in the Castrol Toyota Hilux had opened up a commanding lead in Class E. Rob Walk's charge came to an abrupt halt when a CV joint seized on the Super Team Mighty Mag, allowing Nick Hosler and Glenn Stain in the Super Team Raceco and Giel Nel in the Luke Africa Truggy to nip by. The replacement differential on the Dabro Land Cruiser was holding out, and he had moved up to 5th in Class D.
Driving at the moment. The limiting strap here broke, so the CV has got too hot in the seat. But we're going to change it now. We're going to carry on.
The damage to the Mighty Mag was terminal, and Walk was forced into retirement. The Caledon 400, proudly brought to you by Ford, Nissan, Toyota and Bankfin. Proudly brought to you by Ford, Nissan, Toyota and Bankfin. If it moves, we'll finance it. The race leaders passed through the designated service point without stopping for fuel or repairs, but Haasbroek and Bosch weren't that lucky. They limped into the pits on 3 wheels.
So 5 kilo's van hier. Hij rijdt maar een beetje moeilijk zo.
On board with Hannes Grobler and Richard Leek in the Nissan hardbody, the pair had opened up a lead for over 4 minutes on Woolridge and Skolthammer in the Ford. So far, the Nissan hadn't missed a beat, and barring any unforeseen problems, victory appeared to be in the bag. Woolridge and Skolthammer were unable to close the gap on the leading Nissan. They have finished 2nd on 3 occasions and once in 3rd place this year. Their only non-finish came on the Nissan Sugarbelt 400 when they retired the Ford with suspension damage. With Foss and Griffiths retiring from the event, their championship hopes received a huge boost. There was no stopping the Duplessis brothers. Magaghenene, Weir Smith and Marsh had retired from the event, and their only real threat was Greg Harvey. Reineke and Houghton battled with the vibration on the Toyota's drivetrain and were almost 15 minutes behind Grobler and Leek and had little chance of closing the gap. Harvey and Stone closed in fast on a regional competitor. The Queenstown pair was almost 25 minutes adrift of the leading Jimco. Henry Kirstein and Rainer Jooster had had a great run so far, but disaster struck when they rolled the Sekarock Sandmaster close to the finish. Dawson Rutherford led Class S in the Nashua Mobile Raceco, and Bond and Lombard had moved up to 2nd. Cliff Weigelt and Johan Smalberger had come from 68th to 8th overall and 4th in Class T in the N1 4x4 Ford Ranger. Class D leaders Mark Corbett and Juan Moore in the Century Property Developments Isuzu have performed consistently and finished every event this year. They had a 2.5-minute lead over Haasbroek and Bosch in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser. The Tosca farmers have a never-say-die approach to off-road racing and soldiered on despite 2 punctures and a misfire. The order had settled down in the closing stages of the race. Grobler and Lee continued on their merry way at the head of the field, which had been whittled down from 69 to 30. A faultless performance saw the Duplessis brothers pick up their 3rd consecutive special vehicle win in the Mobile Jimco. Dowse and Rutherford couldn't pull off an overall win this time around and had to be satisfied with 3rd overall and the Class S win. Corbett and Moore clinched victory in Class D in the Century Property Developments Isuzu, ahead of Haasbroek and Dabro. The Class E win went to Manfred Schroeder and Jack Peckham in the Ford Racing Ranger after the De Brems retired from the race. Marcus Taylor and Mark Deschalaine won Class B for the 4th consecutive time in the Truck Time JRE. Marius and Tracy van Vieren finished 2nd in Class D in the recent Toyota Dealer 400 and were placed in the Caledon 400, but then disaster struck. The Alberante Land Rover's prop shaft was badly damaged by a submerged rock, and they too were forced into retirement. Francois Jordan provided some comic relief at the finish.
No, the clutch went. Unfortunately, we were lying 3rd overall and the clutch went. It's one of those things, nothing we can do about it.
Nissan management and the luckless Geniel de Villiers waited patiently for the leading Nissan to arrive at the finish. The moment finally arrived as Hannes Grobler and Richard Lee cruised home to their 2nd victory of the season in the Nissan hardbody. Neil Woolridge and Kenny Skoltheimer were 2nd in the Ford Racing Ranger.
We had a hard drive today. We had all different types of road conditions. It was rough. We had mud. We had fast stuff like rally stuff. But we paced ourselves well, and we knew if we're going to pace ourselves that we don't have any punctures or whatever, and we keep a good pace, we've got a good chance to win it, and we pulled it off, and we're very happy.
The Class T Super Trucks occupied the top 4 positions in the production vehicle category, and there were class wins for Nissan, Isuzu and Ford. 3 wins out of 4 starts this season for Gerard and Laurens Duplessis in the Mobile Jimco.
Het is lekker om 3 keer achter elkaar te winnen. Ons rijden 7 jaar al, die wedrennen. En ons begin nou eers hierdie jaar iets reg kry. So, ek dink is nou tyd. Maar dit is lekker.
Only 10 special vehicles managed to finish the grueling Caledon 400, with the less powerful Class B and Class S entries accounting for 6 of the top 10 placings. Highlights of the Caledon 400 Round 6 of the Bankman Off-Road Championship were proudly brought to you by